what's going on with my Evercade enthusiasts? My name is Evercade, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the microcomputer collections that are coming up on Evercade, and whether or not we can actually see a new line of Indie Heroes cartridges on Evercade thanks to this new systems. Now, for those you don't know, we are getting C64 mini collection or C64 collection later this year in October. That's why I've got a C64 in this video, obviously. And basically, for those you don't know, there are tons of games from in a little, homebrews and off-market games from small studios and independent people, which are being coded for tools like this Commodore 64, like the ZX Spectrum, like the Amiga 500, like the BBC Micro. And basically, I just want to give my thoughts on if we could potentially see an Indie Heroes collection for these systems. Now, obviously, first of all, it will depend if Blaze has the rights to actually emulate these systems, which they do. They have obviously a C64 emulator, obviously they got a C64 collection coming later this year. So C64 games are all go, they're all good. Blaze could potentially get like 12, 14, 20, whatever, how many games they want on a cart from the C64. If the indie studios they talk to or the indie developers are willing to actually release the games on Evercade, they could also make the games run natively on Evercade. It all depends on what studio or developer thinks, and that's the big ones. Like C64 is quite simple, and then you've got the Amiga, and obviously the company who owned the Amiga rights was Commodore, and Commodore also made the C64. So the company who currently has the rights to make to the Amiga Mini is the same one that released Commodore 64 Mini, which is this system I've got. So that's another easy one. And the Amiga was actually more powerful than the C64, so that'd be a better get for emulated games. And there's more potential with these Amiga games and there's C64 games, so that'd be a huge win for Blaze as well. Now, the cool one, the big one everyone wants, is the ZX Spectrum, ZX Spectrum, and that's the hardest one because, well, the company who owns that is Sinclair, which was bought by, I believe the current owner is News Corp. So I don't know how Blaze would be able to license those license games from them if News Corp still owns any games from that system. But when it comes to the indie games can be a lot easier to get, depending on if there's any lawsuits or legal issues with emulation for those systems. But I feel like if Blaze is paying the developers, I think it should all be fine. And yeah, that's me. Do I think we'll see a new line of Indie Heroes collections? Sure. Indie Heroes obviously something that's on Evercade, or at least the red carts for the home console and home console and handheld systems. Obviously, we're not going to get an Indie Heroes collection for the arcade games because obviously arcades are quite expensive, and you need to be a major publisher or developer to race in arcades back in the day. And I don't think it's impossible that we will get a bunch of a game run of games, obviously from the C64, from the Amiga, from the ZX Spectrum, which are all homebrew games or off-market games, which they're also known as. I think it'd be a good get for Evercade, as Evercade looks to acquire more games for their system, to sell more units and appeal to new audiences, and potentially it could give these developers more revenue and more sales. More people will be interested in buying the original versions of these games, because remember these emulating microcomputer games is one of the only legal ways to get a hold of these games now, because a lot of them aren't on Steam. A lot of them have kind of been lost to time because a lot of the companies that made them are kind of gone bankrupt, been bought out or sold off, whatever. So Blaze can actually do a huge thing by getting the indie games from these systems, like the homebrew games, on these Evercade carts and then promote them to a new audience. Anyway guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you want to see Blaze make a bunch of homebrew collections from these systems? Do you think that's a waste of time? Would you prefer certain other games from these systems? Let me know all that stuff in the comments down below. I've been Evercade and I'm signing out. Peace.